King Charles versus Prince Andrew. Two brothers, two narcissists, differing types. One is king, the other one is disgraced. Nevertheless, the necessity of the pursuit of the prime aims remains, albeit they go about it in slightly different ways. Charles operates with a facade. Andrew does not. Andrew is more obvious in his behaviours compared to that of Charles. Their various narcissistic traits, infidelity, pride, vanity, argumentativeness, anger, amongst others, are plain to see. And, as a consequence of Charles's need to protect the monarchy, which of course is an extension of himself, this means that repeatedly he is going to have to swat down, deal with Prince Andrew. Whilst Andrew, of course, as a consequence of requiring the grace and favour of his late mother, largely has removed himself from the public eye and has kept relatively quiet as a consequence of recognising that there's a benefit in him doing so, i.e. money, which is a residual benefit, of course. He's a little bit like the whack-a-mole, that he'll keep popping up because his narcissism will demand it. He will keep popping up looking for fuel from his brother, but more likely he will keep popping up wanting character traits and, in particular, those residual benefits. He'll want to return to the public life. He'll want payment. He will want money. He will want security paid for. He will want to live in particular suites and places. Some of you will be thinking, goodness me, he's as bad as Harry's wife in terms of the brass neck for demanding things when quite clearly his name has been dragged through the mud as a consequence of the allegations against him brought by Virginia Giuffre, and also just generally his reputation for being a bombastic individual that behaves in a very entitled fashion. Of course, as you ought to know from my work, he doesn't give a rat's ass about what's gone before. His narcissism is focused on the moment, and he, like many narcissists, exhibits that almost breathtaking ability to behave like nothing has happened. Sex scandal? What sex scandal? Give me some rooms. Air miles, Andy? Don't know what you're talking about. I need more money. No shame, no embarrassment, no remorse, no guilt. Driven by his innate narcissism, he keeps popping up, making those demands, and, of course, this will amount to a threat to control for Charles, meaning that he has to deploy the whack-a-mole technique of bopping his brother over the head, figuratively at least, in order to nullify the threat to control. And Charles has been at it again. The Sun reports, in an article by Matt Wilkinson, Prince Andrew's nights with his beloved teddy bears at Buckingham Palace have drawn to a close, after he was told he could no longer use his suite of rooms. Removal of residual benefit, threat to control. The disgraced Duke of York, 62, who has already been forced to close his office there, enjoyed sleeping at the palace with a selection of meticulously arranged cuddly toys. See parts passim for my observations and explanation as to what is going on there. You'll find it very interesting indeed. However, all his treasured possessions have been shifted out while renovation takes place, and they will never return now. His older brother, Charles, is king. Andrew has been told that if he wants to sleep in London, he must move into new digs, with nearby St. James's Palace a possible option. The bombshell comes nearly a year after Andrew's £12 million sexual abuse lawsuit payout to Virginia Giuffre, and it is the latest blow dished out to the divorced dad of two since Charles succeeded their late mother, the Queen, to the throne last September. A source said last night, "The King has made it clear that Buckingham Palace is no place for Prince Andrew." Assertion of control, protection of facade. First his office closed last year, and now his sleeping quarters. Andrew loved having a suite at Buckingham Palace, where he was not only set up for marital life with Sarah Ferguson, but used it as a bachelor's pad after his divorce. Bolt hole. He brought back a string of new girlfriends to his home in the palace, even model Caprice. A bachelor's flat in St. James's Palace doesn't have the same allure for a single man. Accordingly, he used the suite as a bolt hole. And if you want to understand what that is and in the context of what a narcissist does with it, then watch my video, The Narcissist Bolt Hole. No, it's not butthole, in case some of you have your perverted minds in overdrive once again. Andrew uses this as a bolt hole, and it was utilized for the entertaining of intimate partner secondary sources. The palace, the article continues, is undergoing a £369 million 10-year rebuilding project, which includes gutting and renovating Andrew's suite, known as the chamber floor. Last year, The Sun revealed Andrew liked to surround himself in his royal bed with 5 teddy bears or other stuffed animals, which had to be in specific positions. Staff drew a sketch on how they should be arranged, including a teddy holding a heart, hippos, plus cushions with daddy, ducks and prince on them. If they were not set out as he liked, he would throw a tantrum. Ignition of fury as a consequence of threat to control. Mementos of his Royal Navy helicopter days were also dotted around, including upturned military shell cases, which served as ashtrays. The door was labelled the Duke and Duchess of York years after he split from Sarah in 1992. Dozens of pics of his ex-wife, now 63, plus daughters Beatrice, 34, and Eugenie, 32, filled the suite. It was also revealed the prince would be woken there each morning by a footman who would set down a calling tray containing a pot of tea, china cup, and saucer. However, last January, Andrew was stripped of his military roles, wounding, and royal patronages, wounding, amid links to the disgraced paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. He later agreed a huge payout to settle a US lawsuit brought against him by Miss Giuffre, but did not admit any crime or misconduct, denial, nullification of threat to control. The Sun revealed on Christmas Eve that he was forced to close his palace office and told not to use it as an address, wounding. Meanwhile, it has been reported that Andrew has been confidently telling pals, boasting and bragging, while out shooting, of a big development that could restore his shattered reputation. A source said, "He says details are about to be made public which will change people's perceptions of him. He says that it will happen next month." Triangulation, potential future faking, possible delusion. It is understood discussions are underway to find him accommodation in London. He is expected to keep his 31-room mansion, Royal Lodge in Windsor. Residual benefit: he was photographed driving there yesterday. Renovation work at Buckingham Palace is expected to be finished in 2027. A palace spokesman did not want to comment. Here we see how Prince Andrew remains essentially out in the cold, and because of Charles's need to maintain his own facade, any attempt by him to utilise particular residual benefits at the palace to try and make demands are seen as threats to control, subconsciously of course, resulting in him being slapped down, given the whack-a-mole treatment. But it gives you a useful way of understanding the way that two narcissists in a familial nature, one king, one Duke of York, are how they interact with one another vis-à-vis the need for control and other aspects of the narcissistic dynamic. I'm H.D. Tudor. Thank you for listening.